Who are we voting for? Meet the candidates. Who Are We Voting For was created so we could understand who the candidates are and what they are about. This is not an endorsement for any candidate. This is for the voter to be more educated about who we're voting for.
Hi, my name is Mike Sullivan. I'm currently an attorney at Krolikowski Law. It's a small firm downtown. It's so small, it's actually just me and my wife. I met my wife while I worked at the district attorney's office, and she left the DA's office about 3 years ago, and I left about a year ago, and I decided to join her on the defense side. I live in Mount Lebanon with my wife and our 3 boys. They're 15, almost 16 now, 7 and 6. So we're about to have another driver in the family, which is nice when we're running around with 3 boys who are very active and play sports. My oldest plays volleyball and soccer, and the 2 youngest play soccer and baseball in the spring and basketball, and they run, they do all kinds of different things. So it's a very active family, and we're very busy all the time. And it brings me a lot of joy to watch them do what they do. So I grew up in the North Hills myself. I grew up in Westview, and my dad owned a carpet store when I was younger, Sullivan's Carpets in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And in the mid '80s, I think every Pittsburgher knows that the steel mills started shutting down, and that hit our area very hard, including Ambridge. It was a big factory town, and once those factories started closing, the town was hit very hard, and my dad had to close the carpet store. So then my mom had to go to work too. My dad started working a bunch of different jobs. He worked for Sears for a little bit in their carpet department, became a bus driver for Lenzner buses, and drove school buses in places like Stowe Rock School District. And he was a medical courier for a while at night, which I'll explain in a minute. But when the store shut down, my mom went to work. She went back to school for a little bit, became a teacher's aide for the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, and that led to a job at Shaler School District as guidance and truancy secretary. So she worked there for probably 20, 25 years, and really sustained the family at that point. My parents, they were working, a hardworking family, and now in my adulthood, I know how much they struggled to pay the bills and work paycheck to paycheck. I never noticed that when I was a kid, though. When I wanted a toy, I got told no often enough, but I never thought much of it because I still was told yes quite a bit, and had the things that I desired, and and I got to play and run around just like every kid. And I grew up in a good safe neighborhood in Westview, and I went to a good school. I went to North Hills High School, graduated there in 1992. But I'm not an only child. I have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, and one of the struggles that my parents had to work through was that my sister began having epileptic seizures when she was just 6 months old. So they spent a lot of nights at Children's Hospital, which meant I spent a lot of nights at my grandparents' houses. So those just seemed like fun sleepovers for me back then. But I know how hard it was on my parents now, and how they had to fight for my sister to get her the care that she needed, and as she got older, get her into the programs that could help her, learn and assimilate into the world as well, which wasn't easy because those seizures did a lot of damage to her. Even now, I'm 50, she's 40, about to turn 46, and she has the mental capacity, of a 4 or 5-year-old. So she doesn't talk. So communication with her is a struggle. You need to learn how to read her and understand what she wants based on how she looks at you, and noises that she makes. Not necessarily words. So that's how I grew up. But like I said, my childhood was seemed pretty normal, even though my parents were struggling, and I had a sister who had her own special needs. It didn't seem, out of the ordinary to me at all. Like I said, I went to North Hills High School. I played baseball growing up in Westview Ross. I was pretty good too. Made the all-star team routinely up through, especially like 14, 15 years old. Played for the team through junior high and high school as well. Although I stopped playing baseball in 10th grade for the high school. And that's because I got into music. I started playing saxophone in 4th grade. And once I got to high school, it gets pretty serious there, especially at North Hills High School. It has a pretty robust music program. And I got into the marching band, and I got serious about music, and I became a pretty good saxophone player. And I became a leader among my peers. And in fact, in my junior year, I was named drum major for my senior year. So I was the leader of the band program, at least on the student level, my senior year in high school. And that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about caring for the people around you, being a spokesperson for people, making sure that you give people what they need. You can't talk to everybody in a large setting the same way, and you need to talk to them and have them tell you what they need, so that you can lead them in the appropriate way. And when they need you to talk to the director or whoever about a situation that they're going through, that you're able to do that for them. So I learned a lot about leadership that year, and how to lead and how to get the most out of people in any given situation. So from there I went to Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, a good, very good liberal arts school. I worked very hard to get good grades there, and once I graduated from Allegheny in 1996, I went to Duquesne Law School. One of the things that I'm proud of is that in my educational career, I only applied to 3 schools. I applied to Allegheny, and I asked for early admission, and I loved Allegheny when I went up there and visited. So it was the only school I applied to, and once they approved me for early admission, I went there. So I didn't have to apply to any other schools. I was like, this is the place right here. And then when I was looking at law schools, I knew I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. I did not want to go anywhere else. So I only applied to Pitt and Duquesne. I got into both, and I went to Duquesne because I thought, that class size fits the profile closer to Allegheny and what I'm used to. So that was where I chose, and I chose well. Graduated from Duquesne in 1999, and I wanted to practice in criminal law. I liked constitutional issues. I liked constitutional law, and that was the place where it felt like I could, make a living and do things that I like. So I made a career out of being a criminal attorney. For a long time, that was as a prosecutor in Venango County and Allegheny County, and now as a criminal defense attorney. So the skills I have that bring me to running for the Court of Common Pleas, I guess you could narrow them down into a few categories. One would be knowledge and experience. I've been an attorney for 25 years. I've worked in criminal law, a little bit in family law during those 25 years, mostly as a prosecutor. I worked in the Venango County District Attorney's Office for 2 years. I worked in the Allegheny County District Attorney's Office for 22 years, and now I've been on the criminal defense side for a little over a year. So, in those jobs, I've handled just about every type of criminal case you can possibly handle. I've stood up for victims of sex assault, child sex assault and child abuse, victims of robbery and other types of assaults. Most of my time here is in the Allegheny County District Attorney's Office was spent as a domestic violence prosecutor. For 20 out of my 22 years, I spent my time in that unit, mostly sticking up for women who were abused by the person who was supposed to love them. And a lot of times in a domestic violence situation, a victim ends up feeling isolated, like they can't speak out against their abuser. They're between a rock and a hard place, between, the police pushing them to do something about their situation, and their abuser pushing them to not do something about their situation, and threatening further violence. So, as a prosecutor, working your way through that process with a victim and giving them a voice when they don't feel like they have one, that was important work to me. And even though I was asked to go to different units, I was asked to go to the violent crimes and firearms unit. I was asked to go to the homicide unit during my career at the DA's office, and I graciously turned them down every time I was asked, because I knew that my skill set and that work that I was doing was very important for the people of Allegheny County. So I have that experience. I prosecuted approximately 30 homicides, even though I wasn't in the homicide unit. So I have that work as well. I've prosecuted very, very serious cases. And even now as a defense attorney, I have worked with folks accused of robbery, DUI, domestic violence. I even have a client who's accused of homicide as well. So I continue doing that serious work and giving my clients a voice in the courtroom when they don't know how to express themselves and they don't know the law. So doing all that work, I obviously do know the law. I know the rules of criminal procedure, the rules of evidence, the crimes as well. And I do have a little exposure to family law. I do work in the area of protection from abuse as well. And I did that work even at the DA's office through violations of protection from abuse orders. So that experience and that knowledge is one facet of why I believe I would make a good judge. The other part of it is caring and integrity. As you see from my experience, I've worked with people through my career. I'm not working on drug cases without a victim, or DUIs really without a victim. I'm working with people that need somebody to stick up for them. So I care about what happens to the people that come into the courtroom. As a prosecutor, my job was to care about everybody, care about the defendant, care about the victim, and care about the truth, which brings me to integrity. When you're working in the courtroom, whatever side you're on, the goal should be to find the truth. That way justice can be done and a good decision can be made by the judge. So as a judge, I've already done the work to find the truth, and I will bring that to the bench. That experience, that knowledge, that caring, that integrity, making sure that I care for people and do things the right way is what I will bring to the bench. Why should I run for the Court of Common Pleas? Well, the experience I have brings me to do this. Not only in the courtroom, handling all types of different kinds of cases, mostly victim crimes, and now with criminal defendants, making sure that people get heard in the courtroom. I've been doing this for 25 years as an attorney, and that experience I think makes me ready for this job. I've been in the courtroom almost on a daily basis for 25 years. So I know, what it takes to make good decisions. I've had to evaluate evidence and the needs of people on a daily basis, and that's exactly what a judge has to do as well, and rule on the rules of evidence and different disputes that happen in the courtroom as well. So I've done that. I've solved disputes between other attorneys and have done that work. The other part of it is outside the courtroom. I've been a leader in this community for a while now. The last 8 years while I was at the DA's office, I was the supervisor of the domestic violence unit. And I was proud to be the co-chair of the domestic violence task force. And in that capacity, my job was to work with other people in the legal community and in the community at large, community organizations, the Department of Human Services, judges, elected officials, victim services agencies, police, all those people, working with them to find the best ways to handle the issue of domestic violence in the court system. And to me, doing that can be expanded. If you can find ways to make domestic violence work better in the court system, then you can do that in any field. It's time for us to find new, innovative ways to handle cases in the Court of Common Pleas and make the system work better for the people in it. And I've been doing that. So that experience inside and outside the courtroom is what brings me to why it's time to run right now. Our courts are very important to our way of life. A lot of times they work in the background, but what we see today going on in the world should bring them to the forefront. The court is where truth lives, not on the cable news networks, not anywhere else, but truth and integrity have to rule in the courtroom. Nothing else can satisfy the work of the court. I've worked for 25 years as an attorney to find the truth, to find justice for people, for victims and defendants alike. So at this point in time, it's important to, elect judges who have that type of background, who have stood up for people, who have stood up for the truth, and done it with integrity. We see what happens to with people and the work they do when they're in the courtroom, but a lot of decisions are made outside the courtroom when nobody's looking. How you talk to a person, how you listen to them, how you make decisions with them, all is important. And I've done that as an attorney, and I will continue to do that if I'm elected as a judge. Integrity and truth finding are the foundation of our court system. And making sure that people are treated well in the court system, that they are listened to and treated as human beings, as they deserve to be, no matter what they look like, where they came from, what walk of life they're from, who they love, who they worship. It's important to make sure that we have judges who listen and care for those people, no matter what they're accused of doing as well. They're entitled to their rights being protected in the courtroom and being cared for as human beings. I will do that if I'm elected as a judge, because I've done that my entire career. I've cared for people, I've given them a voice, and now I will make sure that their voices are heard, taken into account, and a good decision will be made. That's one thing about judges. If they don't do the things that I'm talking about, bad decisions can be made. And when bad decisions are made by judges, terrible things can happen to people. They may go to jail when it's not deserved. They may have their family taken away when that's not the right thing to do. They may have to pay support or fines or whatever when they can't. They might have their job taken away. And if those things are going to happen, it better happen because the judge decided that's the only way I can keep somebody safe or keep society safe, or the truth demands it. You have to take care of people, and you have to find ways to the truth, and you have to do it with integrity and caring. And if I'm elected to the bench, that's what you're going to get from me. Why should people vote for me for judge of the Court of Common Pleas in Allegheny County? Well, for one, I have a lot of experience inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom. I was a domestic violence prosecutor for 20 years. So not only do I understand, the legal ramifications of a case, I understand the human ramifications of what happens in the courtroom. As a domestic violence prosecutor, I walked out of the courtroom many, many times with victims who felt that they weren't understood by the judge, that they weren't heard by the judge, that their issues weren't cared for in the right way. And on the worst days, those victims felt like they were second-class cases in the Court of Common Pleas. So I've seen what happens when judges don't take the time to understand what the people are going through to make good decisions. So I will bring that human aspect to the bench. I will work tirelessly to understand the issues of the people who come before me as a judge. But the other thing you'll get from me is leadership. Outside the courtroom, I will also work to make sure that our court system is working as well as it can for the people who come into it. We need to find, innovative ways and always be looking for, the newest ways to handle cases, the best practices all the time. They change over time. I've worked as a leader, as the co-chair of the Domestic Violence Task Force to make sure that both domestic violence victims and defendants got what they need when they came into the court system to find those best practices. I want to take that to the broader set of cases that come into the Court of Common Pleas in whatever division I'm assigned. We need to make sure that when people come into the Court of Common Pleas, we have solutions for them to make sure that when they leave the court, they're not just going through a grinder and being spit out in a worse situation. We want to make sure that they come in and go out in a better situation so that we're not seeing them again. So that we can make sure that serious issues get the time that they need and the care that they need, and that they're decided with integrity and justice in mind. And those are the reasons why you should vote for me on May 20th for Judge of the Court of Common Pleas. Mike Sullivan, ballot position number 9.